Good to hear everybody. Welcome to our Nesivos Shalom Shir Matzoi Yom HaKippurim. Short time after the fast is over. Baruch Hashem, we had a little something to eat, went outside, worked on the sukkah a little bit. And here we are in this year of unbelievable Shabbos Yom Tif. Anybody that learns Nesivos Shalom would know how excited the Nesivos Shalom would be. And we know what the Nesivos Shalom writes about and felt about Shabbos and Yom Tif, and now at the Yom Noroyim. But Baruch Hashem, after a beautiful Yom Kippur, we hope everybody fasted well, and we hope now everybody's feeling refreshed to elevate themselves a little bit, everybody in their own way, and Avodas Hashem. And now we roll straight into Shabbos Kodesh tomorrow night, and then right into the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Very, very exciting times. So what we're going to do is this week's Nesivos Shalom Shir, even though the Shabbos is Parshas Ha'azinu, we're going to speak about the Yom Tov of Sukkot. We're going to get into Nesivos Shalom Shir right now for Sukkot on Motzoi Yom Kippur. And this way you'll be able to internalize the lesson of the Nesivos Shalom before the Yom Tov comes in. And the Torah tells us about the mitzvah of Sukkah. Basukos teishavu shivas yomim. You should sit in a sukkah for 7 days. L'ma'an yedu doreseichem, that future generations should know. Ki vasukos haishavti es bnei Yisrael, that bnei Yisrael sat in sukkos. They were protected by. They were within sukkos. B'yitzias samei eretz Mitzrayim. When they left Mitzrayim, they were in sukkos. So Nesivos Shalom asks a question, very, very interesting question, that we need to understand why we have a Yom Tov in commemoration of the Anani HaKavod, right? One, there's a machlokes, what the sukkahs were. Were they sukkos mamish, or were they Anani HaKavod? And Rashi says that they were Anani HaKavod. Why do we make a Yom Tov to commemorate these sukkos, quote sukkos, that the Bnei Yisrael was surrounded by Anani HaKavod? Why don't we have a Yom Tov for any of the other nisim, any of the other miracles that were performed for the Bnei Yisrael during that time? Even at that time, there were other miracles. There was the Be'er, that they had the water. There was the Mon, that they got food every day. There was food on their doorstep. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care of them with food and water, and yet, you see, we do not have a Yom Tov to commemorate the Be'er or the Mon. Yet, when it comes to the Anani HaKavod, we have this beautiful Yom Tov of Sukkot, and we commemorate the fact that Bnei Yisrael were protected by the Anani HaKavod. So Nesivos Shalom begins his explanation with a very, very important and beautiful yesod. The Torah tells us also about Sukkot. The Torah tells us, as we read the pasuk before, L'man yedu doreseichem, right, that you should know, future generations should know, kivasukos, that we had sukkos in the midbar. It says in the Nesivos Shalom that this pasuk is teaching us a very, very important lesson and a very important point about every Yom Tov. And this is something that we've said over a couple of times from the Nesivos Shalom, that we, as Yidden, as Klal Yisrael, we don't just commemorate things for historic reasons. You know, if something happened 2, 3, 4,000 years ago, we don't make something to commemorate that. That's not what we do as a Yid. Anytime we want to remember, and we do remember things, it is because and for the reason that we have lessons and ramifications for us, not just back then, but today. Anything that we remember is remembered for a reason, that every one of us can gain something from that event, from that commemoration, from that nace, from that miracle, whatever it was. It's a lesson for us today, right now. And every Yom Tov is really that way. When we celebrate Pesach, right? Pesach, Zaman Cheruseinu, it's not pshat that way back when, it was a time of cherus, a time of freedom. It's because every single year and every generation, when Pesach comes around, there's cherus in the air. Every person has the ability and the capability to tap into that cherus, to come into that cherus and make themselves a ben chayrin, to make themselves more of a free person. And really it's the same by Shavuos too. Shavuos is a time of Matan Torah every year. The miracles that surrounded and revolved around Matan Torah and the Siyata Dishmaya in learning Torah and for Torah comes around every year on Shavuos. So we're not just commemorating and remembering something that happened way back when. But let's look at the nace of the Mon and the Be'er. The nace of the Mon was just at that time when they were in the Midbar. The Be'er, they were both tremendous nisim. The Be'er, to get water, to get food, tremendous nisim. But it's different because it was a nace for that generation. It was a nace for that time. And that kind of miracle does not get a Yom Tif for always. That's not something we as Klal Yisrael remember because we don't celebrate historic occurrences. That we do not do. That's not something that we do. That's not what our Yom Tovim are. So the question is, we said that we have this Yom Tov of Sukkos that commemorates the Ananei HaKavod. What was the nates of Ananei HaKavod? Right? Are there Ananei HaKavod today? Says the Nesivos Shalom, the Ananei HaKavod were a nace for all generations. And therefore, we commemorate it by the Yom Tov of Sukkos forever. But, good question. I know you're all thinking, what was that eternal lesson? What is the lesson of Ananei HaKavod that it's for all the generations? Says in Nesivos Shalom, it's exactly what the Torah says. L'man yedu doreisechem, that future generations have to always remember and have to always think about the Ananei HaKavod. You have to think about that the essence of the Yom Tov of Sukkos revolves around what Ananei HaKavod did those days. And what is that? That's the lesson of Emunah. The Emunah that Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishon shomer Yisrael. That no matter where we are, no matter what time in history, no matter what is happening at this time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there and He is watching us. That in every matzav and at every time and place, Hashem is with us and watching over us. And that is what the Ananei HaKavod did then, and that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us now. Hashem surrounded us with the Ananei HaKavod in the Midbar to protect us for 40 years. And Sukkos represents that message, that lesson of Ananei HaKavod, that happening, that continues to do that for us all the time. And for every single one of us individually, too, in our lives. In the Yotzres of Chazaras Hashatz, on the second day of Sukkos, the Yotzres say something beautiful. Maybe if you say Yotzres, I know we do in Shul, you say Yotzres, they're beautiful, beautiful. If you think a little bit about the translation, and the Yotzres on the second day of Sukkos say something very, very poignant, a very poignant message. And it says, Bal tihi mitzvah sukkah be'einecha kala. Don't let the mitzvah of sukkah be light in your eyes. Ki keneged kol mitzvahs chukei shkula. Does say chukei shkula. That the mitzvah of sukkah, don't let it be light in your eyes because it's equal to all the mitzvahs put together. You put sukkah over here, and it happens to be, Chazal say that about a few different mitzvahs, but it's also said about the mitzvah of sukkah. The question is, why would it be that way? Why does sukkah have the weight of all the other mitzvahs together? So based on what we just explained, says in the Nesivos Shalom, we can understand that a little better. What is Sukkos? Sukkos is about emunah. And emunah is the root of all the mitzvahs in the Torah. So don't let sukkah be light in your eyes, because you're mekayim sukkah. It's as if you're carrying the weight of the entire Torah. The pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Yutes says, "Kol mitzvaysecha emunah." That all the mitzvahs in the Torah, all of them are rooted in emunah. And from Sukkos, which is Leman Yedu Doiroi Seichem, that we draw emunah for the entire year from the mitzvah of Sukkos. And this Yesod also gives us a little insight as to Gemara, very interesting Gemara Masechta Avodah Zarah Daf Gimel. The Gemara tells us Mashiach's going to come very soon. We know Mashiach's going to come, and the Goyim are going to start saying, what do you mean? Because they're going to realize that it's coming around. All the people are going to realize that Hashem, we're His chosen nation. Hashem wants only the Yidden. So the Goyim are going to say, what do you mean? We did so many things for the Jews throughout the generations. Hashem's going to say, the Gemara tells us, Hashem's going to say, you know what? Let me give you one mitzvah, and let's see if you are mekayim that mitzvah. So Hashem's going to give them the mitzvah of Sukkah, and Hashem's going to take the sun out of its sheath, the Gemara says, and it's going to become very, very hot outside. And the Goyim are not just going to leave the sukkah, but they're going to kick the sukkah. They're going to be so upset. They're going to be so frustrated. They're going to kick the sukkah, and they're going to storm out, and they're not going to be able to be mekayim that mitzvah. The question is, Hashem's picking one mitzvah to test the Goyim. If they are also chosen, if they did anything, if they deserve any schar for doing things for Yidden throughout the generations, and Hashem picks the mitzvah of Sukkah. Why the mitzvah of Sukkah? The answer is, as we've been saying, because Sukkah is not just Sukkah. Sukkah is about and all about emunah. The question that the Goyim are going to have to answer is, do you want to live like a Yid? Do you want to live like a Jew where everything revolves around emunah b'Hashem? Where whatever we do, we believe and we know that Hashem is standing right with us and right above us, and He loves us and He's doing everything for us. I mean, who didn't feel that today on Yom Kippur, that Hashem, the great love that Hashem has from Klal Yisrael, and it starts on Yom Kippur, it continues, it culminates right into the sukkah when you're sitting in your sukkah, and if you think about it and you feel it and you want to feel it, you're surrounded by emunah, you're surrounded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing every single thing for us. And really, this is the message that we need to internalize when we get to the Yontiv of Sukkos. It's not just Avada. We have the mitzvah of sitting in the physical sukkah around us, but there's more to the sukkah. The sukkah is deeper. The sukkah is a lesson. The sukkah is that lesson of emunah, and that is why we commemorate it with a beautiful Yontiv every single year. Let's now, going through a Shabbos Kodesh, we're able to sweep up even more Kedusha on the way to Sukkot. Tonight, Motzi Yom Kippur, everybody's on a high, everybody feels beautiful, everybody feels the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's not gonna go away this year. There's not gonna even be a couple of days without Kedusha. We're gonna have this Shabbos, we're gonna have, right after Shabbos, we go straight into 2 days later, we go into the Yom Tiv of Sukkos. Let's think about that. Emunah, every mitzvah that we do, the Daled Minim, every mitzvah is rooted in emunah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody should be zoicha to grow, to have the mitzvah of Sukkah surround you, and you should become a different person. Concentrate. Don't let the Yontif go by without the lessons of the Yontif. Let's take it with us, internalize those lessons, and every one of us who's joined in our Nesivos Shalom share will say that we were ready for this Yom Tov of Sukkot. Chag Sameach to everybody. Good Shabbos to all. Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov. Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov, and all the best.